Here they call the Kunte, a Corlori, a Hishmahori, Corpora Eve Rogan on the 4-6 Cussentan, a Idi, a Gwina Ushle, a Galti, Ilig. Ta on Ahazorumtem or free bid in a skull like an arm shot, fear fight to Corriv, Scun the Monastrucker Margin, Don Kilora, special to shot. It's law starule, August is Kush Brodul doing it. Veil shock on Portaglacha, San Octra starule shot. Law Frogra, the Scullen and the Herd. In welcoming one and all to this very special event, I would like to thank you for your presence here this morning and to say how proud we are as a school community to be participating in this historical event. Our short ceremony will commence with a prayer appropriate for the day, recited by our school chaplain, Father Lanigan Ryan. Then local historian Dr. Desmond Ann will address us for a few moments. And we'll then call upon Councillor Mary Hannah Horrigan, Chairperson of the Tipperary and Cashel Municipal District of Tipperary County Council, to address us. The pupils of each school in the country have been asked to write their own new proclamation for a new generation. And we will ask two of our pupils to read a short section of the 1916 proclamation and also a section of our 2016 Proclamation for a New Generation, which was written by the boys themselves in the school. We will then raise our Bratach na Shunta, followed by members of the CJ Kickham Band playing the national anthem, and then we will all join together in singing our Round Naveen. At that stage, we'll invite you to join us in the school hall for a short drama on the events of Easter Rising 1916, as seen through the eyes of the children of that day. So without any further ado, I call on Father Lanigan Ryan to lead us in prayer.
God of our fathers, renew us in the faith which is our life and salvation, the hope which promises forgiveness and interior renewal, the charity which purifies and opens our hearts to love you and in you each of our brothers and sisters. Lord Jesus Christ, may your Church in Ireland renew her age-old commitment to the education of our young people in the ways of truth and goodness, holiness and generous service to society. Holy Spirit, Comforter, Advocate and Guide, inspire a new springtime of holiness and apostolic zeal for the people gathered in schools and colleges around our country this day. May our commemoration, together with our sincere effort to redress past wrongs, and our firm purpose of amendment, bear an abundant harvest of grace for the deepening of faith in our families, our parishes, schools and communities, for the spiritual progress of Irish society, and the growth of charity, justice, joy and peace within the whole human family. To the God of the Trinity, to you, O Lord, confident in the loving protection of Mary, Queen of Ireland, our Mother, and of St. Patrick, St. Bridget, St. Ailbe, Blessed Edmund Rice, and all the holy men and women of our land, do we entrust ourselves, our children, and the needs of the people of Ireland this day. We make this and every prayer through Christ our Lord.
I call it Dr. Des Monastery to speak.
Good morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure for me to be here this morning to what is really a 100th birthday party, and it's always nice to be invited to birthday parties. I confidently expect that somewhere Mr. O'Halloran has a very large cake with 100 candles and it's going to be produced at the end of the proceedings. As this is a 100th birthday, we're a few weeks ahead of the game, because as the boys here know, because they will have done their homework, that the actual rising was the 24th of April. And the best way always to imagine when something like that happens is to imagine it happening where you're living yourself rather than above in Dublin. So if we just cast our minds for a moment to an ordinary Monday morning, and suddenly people in the post office are going about their business, and the next thing armed men burst in and shush out all the customers and the staff and take over not just that building, but maybe then come up here, take over this, another public building, and then maybe go down to the creamery. So before the day is out, 6 or 7 different public buildings in the town are taken over. You can imagine how extraordinary that would be, and how difficult it would be for the police and the soldiers to deal immediately with it. But of course, eventually it was dealt with. It's very easy to remember the statistics of what happened in Dublin and then around the country 100 years ago. Because in 1916, 16 men were executed. Around 1,600 people took part, and you double that, around 3,200 were arrested. And it's when you come to the 3,200 who were arrested that we find that it's impacted on us here in Tipperary Town. As you know, with all the build-up to the celebration of the centenary, it's been very much Dublin-centred. And while that's fair enough, because for most places in the country nothing much happened during that time, but that's not the case here in Tipperary. And 2 particular episodes happened that I just want to briefly mention. And very typically, of course, everybody knows that the great Tipperary name is Ryan, and each of these 2 episodes involves a member of the Ryan family, so it's very appropriately Tipperary-based. The rising began in Dublin on the 24th of April, which is a Monday, and on the following day, and as you know, there's a military barracks here, so a lot of sons and husbands and brothers were serving in the war, so their dependents, their children, their wives were here in town. And about 11 o'clock on the Tuesday evening, the 25th of April, while what was happening in Dublin was happening, there was very little news. People knew something was happening, but they had no details. And the chap came out of a pub at around 11 o'clock that evening, and I suppose with a mixture of anxiety and alcohol and some adrenaline. He was also, unfortunately, with that fairly lethal mixture, he had a gun in his pocket, and he was set upon by a bunch of people who were sympathetic to the British military, because they had, as I say, their families were serving in the military, and so they jeered him about the Sinn Féiners and kind of the beating they were getting in Dublin. And so the chap, unfortunately, had a gun in his pocket. He drew the gun and fired it. And it was, well, a mixture of good luck and bad luck. The bad luck was that a 15-year-old boy called Michael Ryan was shot in the leg. The good luck was that he wasn't killed, and that was a pure accident. A chase ensued, of course, with the police looking for the chap who had fired the shot. And the following day, he had got as far as Kilross, where he was kind of hiding out with relatives. 2 policemen called, and before they could say very much by way of inquiry, he shot them dead. He managed to get away to America eventually, and then came home. So that was a very dramatic episode here in Tipperary, touching on what was happening during the rising. Exactly a week later, the following Tuesday, on the 2nd of May, as I mentioned, roughly 1,600 took part in the rising, but the British arrested double that number, and 6 of those were from this town. Roughly 30 were from the county, mainly from the south of the county, but 6 were from this town. And I only want to just mention one, because, if you can use your imaginations to visualize the scene, you all know, and I'm talking here to the boys, where the radio is broadcast from, that building in Michael Street. Well, there's a house directly opposite that building. for the adults here, it's actually Company Joe's house, directly opposite. It's number 49. The man who lived there was very much associated with Sinn Féin in Tipperary, and at 6 o'clock in the morning of that May Day, exactly a week after, the rising had finished in Dublin on Saturday. This was the following Tuesday. The police, well, they knocked first, but then before anybody had a chance to answer, they battered the door down, and he was taken away. And he was one of the 6 people from town who was arrested and deported, and he ended up in Barlinnie in Scotland, which is what happened to a lot of people who had nothing whatever to do with the rising. So those were 2 incidents where what was happening in Dublin affected us directly here. For the boys who were here, those of us who are of a certain age will remember when it was the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the rising. And I was struck just sitting there listening to the beginning of these proceedings that some of us here won't be around for the 150th. But all these boys who are here will of course. And it's nice to think that they will be able to, when it comes to the 150th, they will be able to tell their children and their grandchildren, maybe even their great-grandchildren, yes, I remember when it was the centenary, and there was some fella talking about it and I hadn't a clue what the hell he was saying. It sounded okay. Anyway, as I said, it's a great pleasure for me to be here today, and thank you very much.
I'd like to welcome today Councillors Dennis Leahy and Councillor John Cross. Now I call on Chairperson of the Cashel and Tipperary District area, Councillor Mary Hannah Horgan, to address us.
Good morning, everybody. I want to just acknowledge the presence of Father Lanigan Ryan and Patrick, as well as Councillor Cross, Dennis Leahy, and Fort Scotland, who has spoken so wonderfully and eloquently without any bother, as he always does. It's also lovely to be here in the company of the Charts Convention. You never cease to let us down in Tipperary. You're always available to attend every event, so it's lovely to be here with the parents and with the boys, and indeed with all the staff. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. Halloran, and all the staff of the school for inviting me here today. It's indeed an honour and a privilege for me to be here amongst you in my capacity as Cathaoirleach of the Cashel Tipperary District. And I'm travelling, I started at 9:30 this morning. I've been travelling around to a lot of the schools in the district in my capacity as the chairperson. But I'm delighted to be here because, believe it or not, even though I've driven past here many times, I've never been to this fine school. I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far. It's a wonderful establishment, and I'm sure I'm looking forward to seeing the inside and having a tour later on. And I know that a lot of work has gone in by Mr. Halloran and indeed Ms. Donovan and all the staff here today to organise this event. And I think it's right and fitting that you, the young men of the school, have had the opportunity to write the new proclamation, which reflects the values, the ideals, and the hopes of the generation of 1916, to remember the men and indeed the women of our ancestors who fought so much and sacrificed so much for independence. So I just want to say thank you to Mr. Halloran again and to everybody for all the work that's gone into this event. It's right and fitting that we remember the people today that sacrificed so much for us, and I'm delighted to be part of it. Thank you.
As Councillor Hannah mentioned there, in relation to the new proclamation written by the boys in the school, we have 2 of our pupils come forward now, and Jack Kelly will read a section of the old proclamation, the 1916 proclamation, followed by Micheál Lowry reading a section of the 2016 Our Proclamation, the Monastery School Proclamation for a new generation. Hopefully we will frame that and put it in the hall in the school for generations to come. So I'll call on Jack now to read a section of the 1916 proclamation.
The Republic guarantees religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunities of all its citizens, and declares its resolve to pursue the happiness and prosperity of the whole nation and all of its parts, cherishing all the children of the nation equally.
We, the school community of the Monastery Primary School, are proud to be citizens of the Republic of Ireland. We remember and appreciate the great sacrifice made in 1916 to create a free, independent nation. May our land always be safe and peaceful for all. We will always be proud to speak our language play our native songs, poems and dances, and so honouring the men and women who died for Ireland.
And now we come to a very important part of our sermon this morning, to the raising of the national flag. One of our boys in 6th class, Aidan Roach, has been chosen to raise the national flag for the Monastery School. Aidan was chosen because his ancestors, the members of the Fitzpatrick and Kiley families locally, played a very significant part in our fight for Irish freedom. So it's an honour for us to have Aidan here today, 6th class pupil, raising the flag in remembrance of those people, those generations went before us, who in many cases gave their lives for the fight for Irish freedom. So we call on Aidan to come forward and to raise our flag. That brings a close to this part of our ceremony. Again, I thank you for your presence here this morning, and I invite you, if you're available, to join us in the hall for a very short drama on the events of 1916, about 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so, seen through the eyes of the children of that time. You're most welcome to join us and for refreshments afterwards. Again, thank you very much.
are the children of 1916. Those 6 days in April changed our lives and our city forever. Life will never be the same again for our families, neighbours and friends.
Most of us live in tenement buildings in the area between the two canals. This area has been a war zone in recent times. 20,000 British against 2,000 rebels.
It was raining bullets, explosion and gunfire for our every waking moment. Our lives are tough. Hunger, disease and a shortage of money is our lot in life. We live in a one room in a building with other families. I've never been further than the canal.
Ring a rosy, as the light declines, I remember Dublin city in the rare old times.
My dad's in Flanders. He took the King's shilling. We haven't seen him for 2 years. My mum takes in washing to make ends meet. I go to school in Gardner Street. Schools have been closed since the uprising started. The nuns have been handing out bread on the streets instead.
Well, I'm a delivery boy for Clary's. I was on Saffron Street when Padraig Pearse came out of the GPO on that Monday. He was very pale. His hands were shaking as he read the proclamation to passers-by.
He said, Irish men and Irish women, in the name of God and of the dead generations, and a lot more I didn't understand. People laughed at him and called him names like traitor.
The volunteers handed copies out to Aaron who would take one. All the windows in the GPO are broken and barricaded. The street was covered in broken glass. A tricolour was flown from the roof. The fear of God was in me. I hurried home to Henrietta Street to tell Ma what was happening.
Now I know it's hard for you, my love, to ever understand the love I bear for these brave men, my love for this dear land. But when Padraig called me to his side down in the GPO, I had to leave my own sick bed. To him I had to go.
I saw snipers on the roof of the shelter.
Well, I saw Countess Markovich. She was standing on a barricade on Stephen's Green. She was dressed in men's breeches, a green jacket and boots. She wore a cartridge belt around her waist. She was shouting orders at her above. On Tuesday, while we were having porridge, we could hear gunshots and heavy gunfire. The sound seemed to come from the direction of the GPO. And Mum said they were Barbarians. It went on for ages.
The guns were on the Helga, a big ship that came up the lift. Liberty Hall, the headquarters of Larkin, and the strikers was destroyed.
Nobles confectioners was destroyed by a shell during the week. Loads of us filled their pockets with sweets, jellies and cakes.
Did you see the dead horse in front of Nelson's pillar? They used it as a barricade. It was peppered with bullets. The smell of hot.
Look what we took from the nuns' men's outfitters. Man was raging. She said people were gone to the dogs looting and stealing.
Well, I saw old Annie Clancy playing the piano down Grafton Street.
Men, women and children swarmed around Cleary's, carrying off furniture, silks and satins, and pushing prams full of sheets and curtains.
Day by day, things got worse. Men like Conway and De Valera kept the fighting going. British troops swarmed the streets. There were heavy casualties on both sides. By Friday, it was awful. No English or country papers came. There was no delivery or collection of letters. All the shops in the city were shut. There was no traffic of any kind on the streets. There was no way of gathering any kind of information.
Even the Dublin Bread Company stopped work. We all starved in our homes, and even though it was dangerous to wander the streets, we had to go and search for food.
We heard singing from the GPO. Maybe they're trying to keep their spirits up.
Soon I shame the Horace fame, oh, quick
went back to Dublin to stop the rising. It's strange that he was meant to be in Flanders. It's strange that families have men on both sides.
On Saturday, the post office had been evacuated. The rebels were at large across the city. Rumor had it that the leaders were in Monastery. They hid no Havens mission in Monastery. A surrender was being planned.
That's true. I saw Norris taking the surrender of General Lowe. She waved the white flag. The city has been leveled to the ground.
They cheered and planted fruit as they marched away. They were called traitors by their fellow Irishmen.
They brought them to Kilmainham, men and women.
16 of them had been shot by firing squads in recent days at Vickers Yard.
They can't execute De Valera because he's an American.
Nor Countess Markovich because she's a woman.
A wedding took place in the jail. Joseph Lockett married a woman named Grace. Then he was shot. He was the sick one. He was supposed to be in hospital that week.
As we gather in the chapel here in old Kilmainham jail, I think about these past few weeks. Oh, will they say we failed? From our school days they have told us we must yearn for liberty. Yet all I want in this dark place is to have you here with me. Oh, grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They'll take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love, I place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, for we must say goodbye.
Everyone says they are heroes now, who died for Irish freedom, but many innocent people have been killed, including 40 children. Our city is a pile of money, food is scarce, and everyone is on edge. It will be a long time before life is normal again.
When people read about us in 100 years' time, we hope they know that us children were innocent bystanders during the rising.
We hope the children of Ireland in the future do not have to see the violence that we saw.
We wish them a peaceful life where they can have a home, plenty of food to eat, and a chance to go to school where they can eventually get jobs.
We wish that our country will be a peaceful place to grow up.
We are the children of 1916. Ring a rosy, as the light declines. I remember Dublin city in the rare old times. Ring a rosy, as the light declines. I remember Dublin city in the rare old times. Ring a rosy, as the light declines. I remember Dublin city in the rare old times.
Well done, boys. We're very proud of your achievements, very proud also of their teachers who prepared them for this little sketch in memory of the year that we have. Again, thanks very much for coming today and for supporting us in our day of proclamation. And again, the refreshments there, you're available if you have time. The refreshments there for you, you're welcome to join us. Thanks very much again.